I was talking to Dean, I had this amazing vision this morning, and it had several pieces to it, and it was like, at first it was like confusion, and it was like something, it was like I could see something, then it wasn't there, then it was there. And I was, okay, I know I saw that. And then, but I'm in like a sleep state, but I am having these visions. And I know there's a name for whatever kind of dream that is.
Lucid dreams.
Thank you. And I was in it. And then I got that to settle down to see that I am in a gathering. All kinds of people, all kinds of ethnics, all kinds of everything. And then I get a wolf. And I was teasing Dean because he's got a rah-rah on his arm there. And, see? And it was like big wolf, not a little wolf. You know, wolves. It was a big wolf. And I said, okay, I have several animal guys that are wolves. And they've been with me for at least maybe 35 years, maybe 35 years. And they are amazing. And all of this has meaning. It may not sound like it at the moment, but it really ties in what we're doing. And so, these two wolves are shape changers. So they can go from wolf to a regular dog to even take on like human form. Everything. Whatever it is they need to do, they can become to assist others into the light. So if they're working with cats, they can work with cats to go into the light. And they become, not a wolf, but they become a very nice, cuddly kind of doggish. That the cat, that especially if they live with dogs, would be more receptive to that than they would to a serious wolf, right? And when they're working with dogs, they stay wolf and they stay dominant. But they open the way so that the dogs feel safe. And I've been watching and seeing this for years. And I've worked with individuals come to me when their animals are going over. Then I go with them to the vets while they're working with the animals to go over. And I talk to the animals, they're friends, and they talk to me, and I tell the parent and the children whatever's going on, what they're saying. It's all about change, it's all about letting go, and it's all about moving from the past and going into the future. And this is what the animals are doing when they leave the body. It's not like you're being abandoned or anything. It's like they will tell you, I can't do this anymore. They'll tell you, it's okay now, I'm ready to go. And one of our dogs wanted to know, he said, Andy, and I still miss that dog. He says, will this go away? Because we had gone to all the specialists and regular vets and everything. You do what you're going to do for your animal friends. And I said, no. And Patty and I were sitting with him. He says, okay. And we asked him, when did he want to leave? Because he needed help. He could not keep going through what he was going through. And he picked a day. And so we gave him his favorite biscuits, peanut butter. Yeah, I understood that right away. I said, yeah, peanut butter. And but his vet was out of town. And so we had to take him to another vet down in Watsonville. And so we all three stood around crying because she had just had to do this for her own small dog. He was a mid-sized dog. And he said, it's okay. When he went over, the two wolves were there. And they escorted him into the light. There was no fear. There was no, I don't want to do it. There was no, where am I going and what's going to happen to me? It was all about letting go of something and going into a new direction. And all of that is happening this morning as I am coming out of this lucid dream and waking up and feeling like I haven't slept.
No.
So I'm still feeling like that. So if I suddenly go over in left field, just bring me right on back. To say, Joyce, that's not where you were, and I'll say, okay. Because
Let me see.
it's like being in an altered state, this not having enough sleep. So I wanted to share that with you about the whole dream thing. You get messages and you get meanings that pertain to something you're going to do. And so when Janet was talking about being in Australia and doing the walkabout, and about, you know, they didn't understand a backpack, but the dream time and how all of that tied into what you were going to do, and that you do the dream time and you clear things and you purify before you go to sleep. This is what you do with revision. And so I was sitting there making a quick note, which means I may have gotten it in Joyce writing, which who knows what this says. So what do I need to do to clear and purify me before dream time? This is how I wrote it. Because it is here that we receive the message of the day. And then I wrote, don't carry the backpack. Okay? Because this is full of things that you don't want. You don't need. So why are you carrying this heavy load? And this is what happens when we carry things from any part of the life we're in, or any week or month, to the next day, to the next day, to the next day. We get a backpack full of stuff.
Question. Do we come in with a backpack from past lives?
Sometimes. Sometimes we do, but we come in with an option to get rid of that backpack.
Good.
And guess what happens?
We keep it.
We keep it. We keep thinking I owe something. We call that a bad karma debt.
Yep. Yay, and good, and I'm a hypnotherapist, and I can help you with that. Yeah.
Exactly. So when you feel you got a bad karma debt, you're carrying it. Because I believe that whatever is going on with us, and we can revise karma, we can get rid of it, we can let it go, we can revise what we've been carrying around since whatever age, because I've been practicing that, as y'all know about my family. I don't think there's much you don't know about them by now. Well, there's a few things I haven't told you yet.
Oh, good. More sermons coming.
Yes, that can just
More about King.
Oh my God, that's amazing. One of the best seers ever, but that's another story. So when we revise something, change it, transform it, purify it, clear it, let it go, remove it, stop carrying it around. We are now clearing ourselves so that we can move forward and do something a little different. And all of these things, we can call them negatives, because we all understand what a negative is. It's something we just don't want. We don't like it, it hurts us, someone has said something, I'm saying something, I keep doing something. What's the thought? The thought is, if you keep hitting your finger with the hammer, I want to ask you why you keep doing it. I would say, well, did you think about getting one of those little devices to hold the nail? No. I asked somebody that actually. They said no. I said, you didn't think about getting one of those devices? I said, carpenters use them. They hold the nail and whang, they don't hit the finger. No. I said, why not? She said, well, I can do this. I said, but you keep hitting your finger. So I didn't realize there was no point in talking to that person. They needed to have that pain for whatever reason. They needed to feel that they could do it. Well, they weren't. They were damaging these two fingers with a hammer. So sometimes karma is like that. In terms of the revision of looking at what we're going to talk about today. Karma is like you keep hitting yourself with something that your soul is letting you know as a healing, as a teaching, as something to revise, something to transform, something to purify, something to clean, something to let it go the best you can. But we get caught up in the I did something wrong. With the exception of a few individuals I've met coming into the body, I've met very few individuals who have not been in the body and did something wrong, whatever wrong is. Whether it was in war, thievery, violence, hurting, harming in any fashion you can imagine. I've met them. We've been sitting and having the reading or talking over tea and coffee and whatever. I've met them. And so what do some individuals do? instead of seeking ways to clear that memory, the soul is letting them know to get rid of, because you don't need to carry that memory, and we're here clearing. Just to clear the soul, to clear our journey, to make things easier in this life, because the more we get to know our soul, the more the soul will tell us. The more things will be revealed to us. It really does happen. This is why some people get stunned, and they say, oh, you know, I woke up this morning and realized I had been a Roman soldier. Or they were someone else who did something really bad to someone else. I can't believe it, but I was a slaver. I've had this, you know. And I'm looking at them and I'm going,
Yeah.
I said, what happened? Tell me the story. And they'll tell me the story. I said, oh. You know, sometimes I have not always found that subtle part of me yet. And I said, what?
You did
I
what?
said, really? They said, yes. What do you make of it? I said, oh, scary. That happened to you? And they said, yes. I said, what do you last remember? Because sometimes people are telling me about being eaten by something, a wild animal, or things like that. And so I'm asking them, and they're telling me about it. They're in it and in it and in it. And I said, okay, now let us all relax for a moment. And so that we're going to heal this and forgive this and let all this go. We can do that? I said, heck yeah. This is why your soul is showing it to you. So you can do something about it. You don't have to keep carrying this life after life and have it coming up. You can take care of it in this one and you're done with it. You really are going to be done with it because your soul is no longer going to be carrying it. You're going to clear your book, clear your record, clear you. That can be done. But it's hard to do these things when you are engaging in it as if it is some great act of courage or strength, or that you need to suffer. All I know is, if it's 500 years ago and I'm in a war and I'm fighting for my life, and somebody else is fighting for theirs and I succeed in taking theirs, I'm in a war. I'm not in a war because I want to be there. So what am I supposed to do? Am I to stand there and let somebody chop me up? Or do I fight? I will fight. I can just tell you straight up. Joyce will fight. I'm going to fight. That's
Have
all it is to
been,
it.
will do, and
And
will
we'll fight.
continue to do. Yeah.
And I have worked on clearing all of this from my life. So I don't carry those images as something to bother me. You're not going to find that me. Be right there, Dean. You're not going to find me carrying my past life stuff as I've done something wrong and that I have harmed someone. And I'm not holding it against anyone else. I have met far too many people who did things to me. I have met them. They have drowned me. They have killed me. They have destroyed my families. They have done everything you can imagine. And I know these individuals. I know them. And I hold nothing against them. Nothing. Absolutely. And I'm telling you the truth. But it was in this physical life where I had my greatest challenge. It wasn't my past lives. So this is why it is so important sometimes to come into a place to where you want to work on that you're working on what's in this lifetime. But when stuff come up around karma, there are a lot of great people out there, and several of them are right in this room, right over there, that can work with you from right here. Do you? And do you do past life karma stuff too?
I've done some, yes.
Okay, 3. I'm down in Santa Cruz, 4. Anyone else in here work on past life and karma?
Maybe
Okay.
one day.
Yeah?
Maybe
One-
one day.
Maybe one day. Okay, there's 4 of us in this room, so you can get that done. But when you're working on the present stuff, same 4 people can work with you on that. I'm just going to teach you a little something today that may not be so different, but it is something to share with you. Okay? And so that instead of trying to figure out about my karma, I don't mean to be rude, but I'm going to tell you, you need to put that karma on the table for a minute. and take a look at what is happening right now in your conscious life that is bothering you, troubling you, harming you, hurting you, just getting you to feel all tied up in knots. Because karma, if we follow the basic tenets of healing, do forgiveness. You can do forgiveness around the karma.
Ho'oponopono.
Ho'oponopono.
Yep.
Or several of the scriptures have it in it. Somewhere in Matthew, Mark, I can't remember which ones. I'm all excited. I can't remember which ones it is. But it is. To forgive. Ask, you forgive. The Father will forgive you. There's no bigger forgiveness than that. Everything. And then this wasn't saying one thing, said everything. And yet, we go around acting as if we still have this one thing. But well, what about this? Have you done the Ho'oponopono? Have you done the prayers of forgiveness? Have you done asking to be forgiven and let it go? Well, but what about this? How many of you, it's an amazing thing that somebody will come back and say, well, what about this? And I said, well, it says everything. Not to keep this one thing. And then you find out why someone wants to keep the one thing. It's not about them. They want someone else to be responsible. This is where we get into that deep hole we dig. This is where we get into that. Clearing your karma is very personal. Doing the work I'm going to show you to do today is very personal. This is not about what someone else is going to do for you. It is really what you're going to do for you. And karma is the same thing. Because I can tell you right now, and most of you know it, and I'll say it very quickly. I didn't bring her picture, but my birth mother, King, asked me to forgive her. I think that was in 2008. I was down in the Hilton in Los Angeles, right? It was in this space with a bunch of others, and there she was. And so we did some work together. I did some work to help her the best I could, and she got some help. And she asked me to forgive her. She'd never asked me that before. She transitioned in 1974. And we've been through a lot. And then she disappeared. Didn't know where she was. Then I found her again in 2008, and she was in this dark place. And she wanted out. And she was lonely. She was afraid. And it was cold. And she was lost in there. So anyway, once we did some work, and I asked for the help to be given to her, she asked me to forgive her. I said, I forgave you a long time ago. I said, there's nothing left to forgive, King. I call her King. And she understood. But she made it clear that she wanted me to forgive her. It can happen like that. But it doesn't always. That's kind of rare. Because many times we as individuals are holding on to karma that the other souls are not. They are not holding on to the karma, but we are. Okay? So that's why sometimes we have to start with us. We have to start with us. Do the work we're going to do with us. Don't be focused so much on what that person did, because I spent a lot of time worrying and focusing on what King did to me. And when I got beyond that, I was 32 years old. I was 32. She had been gone like 8 years. When I had a revelation that was absolutely amazing. And I listened to the revelation that I got, very vocal, very verbal. I listened to it, paid attention to it, accepted that as a truth, and I no longer needed for her to explain why she hurt me the way she did. I felt so betrayed by my mother. So that's powerful stuff to carry around. And she and I had a very big past life karma. Past life relationship. See, we keep calling it karma. But we had a past life relationship where she had taken my life And in that relationship, she was actually a king. And so I thought it was kind of odd that her name was Louise King. And then daddy's name, last name's Brown. So Louise King Brown. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I think you start finding out stuff, you say, ooh. It makes you pause. You say, okay. And I said, all right. And so we had a conversation one day, and she said, call me King. I said, no problem. Joyce did not have any problem. And so she is King to me. But when I talk to my brothers, she's Mama. That's just the way that is. When you're dealing with family, don't push it. Just do not push it. It is not worth it. And if you, huh?
Don't rock the boat.
No, because that boat has already got holes in it.
That's right.
I tell you, you grew up with a big family, you got holes in the boat. Okay? So I just wanted to let you know that all of this stuff ties in. It may seem really kind of like Joyce needs more sleep kind of stuff, possibly, but it really does tie up in terms of when you start looking at what you're doing to heal yourself. This is all about personal journeys. And you know, and I've said it before and I'll say it again. You cannot fix the world when you're still carrying all of your stuff and thinking somehow you ought to be carrying it. Okay?
Yeah.
And so, Dean, you had a question about 25 years ago. What was that question?
You've answered it.
I answered it?
Yeah.
All right.
More than once?
And I think you will continue answering it.
All right.
It's a good
Okay.
thing. It's a
All
good
right. So, as usual,
About
I make all
25
these
years ago.
notes
I
in the
haven't even been around
question.
that long.
What?
I haven't even been around for 25 years.
Oh my gosh.
It was funny.
No. This lifetime. Oh, well, okay, we're going to put him out. Okay, anybody else said, nope, we done clocked it. Haven't even been around. You just so like my relatives.
I'm not sure that's a good thing.
No, these are great. These relatives are good.
Oh, okay.
They're the nieces and such that are mostly nieces. They're going to college, and you know, I'm the Auntie Joyce kind of thing, and you know, they're fine. It's when you have siblings that you're wondering. I used to say, who are these people? I did. I used to wonder about it. I was a little kid, and I would sit there and I'd look at them and go, and I would think, who are they? You get that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And why do they keep coming over?
And why do they keep taking my cookies? You know, it's like, who are they? And then I realized there was a lot I was still to learn, and it took a long time for me to get it. But as a little child, you know, what are you doing? You're doing the best you can with that. But when you get past a certain age and you're still wondering who they are, that's me. That is not them, because they're being who they are.
Yeah.
But they're saying what they're doing, how they're acting, how they treat you, how they treat others, whatever. They're being who they are. What am I doing? So, in order for you to move beyond, well, we just, oh, hello, I can see that. So, whatever we hold in consciousness, whatever we hold in consciousness, as being so, big S-O, that is what will manifest. And you know, people say this all the time. Many of us have read many a book with that in it. That what you go around thinking about is what you get.
Right.
And you know, it really does happen.
It sure does.
Sure does.
It
That's
really
been my
does.
experience.
Yeah.
They weren't just kidding us when they said that.
No.
Okay, so
Lots of things.
when we become aware of what it is that we are thinking, holding in consciousness, it's like going out on a walkabout. It really is. You stop and you take a look at what the heck you're doing day in and day out. And you're wondering why it is every day is this way. Why it is I hate my life. I hate my job. I hate me. And the people who say the world would be better off without me if I took my life. If I took my life, then they will love me. It's an amazing thing of the individuals that I have worked with, and many of you have probably too, and even in our own families, where individuals are having these ideas, and at some point some of them actually took their lives. They stopped talking about it and they did the action, because it had become it had got to this place of saying, now is the time to take the action. But that is not one that you can undo. But there are those things that we have thought about, we have created, we keep thinking on them. They're way back, not quite Dean's age, but way back. We keep thinking on them. And yet, they don't improve us. They don't improve us. I said it once before, there was at least 3 people that I actually felt I hated. And one of them was my mother, King. And 5th grade teacher, and this other person, I'm not being able to get their name at the moment. But I really felt that I actually hated them. That's a big word. This is not the little, like, I don't like you, kick a little dust in your face or something. No. This was a big word. And I felt that hate I had was deserved towards them.
But doesn't that give them a lot of power?
It's tremendous.
Oh, yeah. Gives it all away.
It gives them power over your very life.
That's right.
See, this is not about power because they're your 5th grade teacher. It follows you. It followed me. And you know when it stopped with the 5th grade teacher? When someone told me she had died.
Oh, I remember this story.
Yeah, because my one thought was going back to Mississippi to look her up to go tell her what I thought about her.
Wow.
Now you don't have to go that far.
No. I could just sit in my living room. No.
Yeah.
So
and
what-
handle forgiveness.
That's right. What did I do? I did a forgiveness.
That's right.
And I asked for me to be forgiven. See, forgiveness is not one way. Clearing what you're carrying around that is hurting you. You are rewriting literally the whole episode from what it is to the thing that you want it to become. Forgiveness helps you to wipe the slate clean so that you're not carrying it. What you can learn today is not only are you cleaning the slate, but you're creating a new way to see your life as unfolding. That each day, each week, each month, each year, whatever it is, can unfold into an entirely different direction. Doesn't mean you don't do forgiveness. Doesn't mean that you don't forgive you or others or ask to be forgiven. I'm serious, it goes every which way you can imagine. But this is a way to take something that you haven't forgiven it, or you won't, or you see it as somehow being this thing that I've got to hold on to for whatever reason. Or it could be something that simply just came up today. It came up yesterday. It came up last week. Whatever it is, it could just be something that just came up. And you have just ground it into your consciousness. And when you see that person, or you're in that situation, or you drive down that street, I'm only serious with you. There are people who cannot drive down certain streets. The people are no longer alive. They are no longer in the country.
Oh,
They
yeah.
have moved to another state, but they still cannot drive down that street because of what it means to them.
Yep.
And how that has transformed, or as we used to say, how that has colored their lives in a shade of a very dark color.
Yeah.
Very unpleasant, cannot see, cannot feel, there's no love. Everything is caught up in that moment. It has influenced their entire life.
Yep.
And that is something that I was on track to be doing with King.
Mm-hmm.
See, we pretend it's not happening. That's the other thing about us. We pretend. Oh no, I'm okay. We pretend. when inside we are not okay.
Well, we don't want people to judge us.
No, we don't.
Yeah.
But yet we're doing it anyway for ourselves. We are judging ourselves amazingly.
Well, we want people to say, "Oh, that's silly." It's like that to me. It's not.
Yeah.
No. And
Oh my
people
God, it's
say,
been a whole
well,
2 years. Move on.
that's right. Oh, you're still grieving? You know, what is that? This is the stuff that people say to other people.
Yeah.
It's easy to
Get
say
over
this
it.
when you're not in that boat.
Yeah, I'm
And some
ready to
people
grieve
may be
forever,
in the
yeah.
boat, but they have pretended so well.
They try to throw it on you though.
That's right.
They try to make you wear it.
That's right. Because then they dump it. And if you will carry it,
Yep.
then you carry it.
And they get a lot of juice from that.
And then I tell people, no, it's not mine. They don't like, people don't know what to do with that. That may be why I only have so many really good friends in life. Because if you're a good friend, you're a good friend. But if you're somebody who pretended to be my friend, so you can come over and dump your
Yep.
the F stuff on me, no. No, I said, no, it's not mine. Yeah, but I said, it's not mine. It is not mine. And so we now are looking at what have we claimed as ours, and we're carrying it. That's the thing. And that is what you can get rid of. You can let it go. You can transform it. You can heal it. You can do everything you want to with it, but not keep it. Because if you decide you want to keep something, then that's just because you want to keep it. Okay? I had the most amazing talk with a woman once, and I really actually, in my younger day, I just wanted to punch her, but yeah.
So the amazing was because you didn't.
I was about 20
Punch her?
years old, and 21. I just wanted to punch her. I felt I could just punch her good, and I didn't. She said to me, "Well, what is it that you people want anyway?"
You people.
So I was thinking, I don't know. I was thinking I could just whoop her right here.
Yeah.
I had the thought, and at that point in time, you're 20 years old, you're full of vinegar.
I think I might be justified in doing
And I
that
thought,
too.
I said, I know I could just punch her out really good. She was standing there saying that to me, and I looked at her and I said, I tell you what. I said,
Let's do it with attitude.
I'll tell you what.
Tell you what. I said, let's do it with attitude, Joyce.
I did.
Yeah,
had
I
no
know you
attitude.
did.
But I'm okay. I mellowed out though. I said, but let's do this. I said, I'm going to be you and you be me.
Yeah.
And she said, oh, okay. I said, fine. And so I did it. I said, what do you want? I did her. I said, you want education, you want to go to school, you want to be equal with me, you want equal pay, you want good house, you want me to be guilty for slavery. I just laid it all on her, and she started losing all her color. First she went really pink, and I couldn't decide if it was embarrassment or anger, but I didn't really care at that point.
Yep.
I was just standing there, and I said, if we have to go down, we go down, that's it. I was really in it. I was so angry
Incensed, yeah.
that this was someone who had been pretending to be like a friend of mine.
No
and
kidding.
talking like this. Wow. And so when I got done with her, I just laid it on her. I said, now, you tell me what's it like to be black. I said, I've just told you what it's like for me as a black woman to see you as a white woman. Now you tell me. She couldn't do it. All she could do was just, and she walked away. And every time after that she saw me on campus, she would go another direction. Now, that's when I was around 20 years old. And I carried a lot of anger at 20 years old. I didn't know I had so much anger. And then I realized I had a lot of anger. And I pushed it down. And that anger would come out in little ways. And little ways and little ways and little ways. It would come out in a phrase and a word. And this is how we carry stuff. See, we don't necessarily carry the whole page or the whole book or the cup. that half empty, half full cup. We carry little snippets that we drop on people. Well, you've never had to go through that. Go through what? I mean, what are you saying to me? You don't know what I've been through. So when somebody drops that on you, they're telling you a lot more than you can even, well, you can imagine it, but we still won't get to the bottom of it. Yes? So guess what? They're carrying something that is really bothering them. Well, you don't have to be worried about it. I had a woman get upset with me because Patty and I have our own home.
What?
Yeah, she was very upset
Why?
How dare you, huh?
because we were, how she saw herself from my being around her was that she was better than me. And for me to have a home meant that, well, that just didn't work for her because now she had to review how she saw herself. That's how I saw it.
She didn't have her own home.
She didn't have her own home. And she was upset because she had everything else going for her. She had her race going for her, her class standing going for her, her parents' things were going for her, going to UC Santa Cruz going for her. She had a whole lot going for her, but she didn't have a home. So here I was, having a home. Well, that just was, well, I didn't take that one on.
It's not
In fact, I just looked at her. And she's looking at me and trying to drop her head. And I said good night to everybody in the car and got out and went inside the gate that went into my home. Well, our home, but you know what I'm talking. I was in my
At that
attitude
moment.
Yeah, I went inside my home. And so what we do is this. We carry little pieces and we don't even know we have them. We don't know we have them. But how do we know we have these little pieces? Is when we start to pay attention to how we do our days. When you wake up in the morning and the thoughts coming out of you are not very pleasant about your day, about what you're going to do, your work, the people you're going to see, it doesn't matter what it is. The thought about it is not a very pleasant thought. You are looking at it as on the downside. You're not looking at what you have. You're not looking at how you can improve it. You're not looking at how you can add to it. You're chopping it up. I don't like this. I don't like that. You see? And we're just going at it and we're going at it. This is the stuff that we keep attracting. And so when people are doing this around work and they're doing it and they're doing it, and yet they don't get the job. They don't get the improvements. They don't get the raise. They don't get this. And they're going, I knew it, I knew it, I knew it. And I'm going, well, yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Because those individuals do not change their perception. They don't rewrite their story. They don't rewrite it. They don't revise it. They don't clear the record. They leave it on the record. And what you put on the record gets ahead of you. So it becomes your future. I start here with my big time angst about everything. Well, Tuesday is bigger. Friday is humongous. Monday, it manifests itself in somebody telling me, oh, we're going to have to let you go. We're downsizing. What have I been saying? I know they're going to do it. I hate this job. I know they're going to do it. I hate this job. So, Monday morning, they let me go. Because I set me up. Why was I not using other words around that job? Why was I not appreciating that job, paid my bills, gave me a good home to stay, go out and eat at Gail's restaurant? You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm telling you,
Great
go in
example.
there. Well, shoot your allowance. But hey, I go. There we go. Why wasn't I doing that?
Chocolate chip cookies.
Hello.
Two
to
chocolate
go.
chip cookies.
What was I doing? No, I didn't do that. What am I doing? I'm hurting myself, and I'm wondering why I get it. When you change your story, you change your future. That's the whole idea of revision. Revision is not about, well, you can revise. You can actually revise what's a good thing to be better. You can revise what is a thing that you do not enjoy, you would like to change to be better. and you can keep it growing and growing and growing. It has no limit. The only limit to anything called revision, transformation, change, all of those words, is the limit we set. Just keep it going. So when you look at people who don't tell you that this is what they do, and I'll give you a quick example of what I think revision is. And I came up with the idea of doing it a little bit different. Is that people do this thing called something board. What is that?
Vision board?
Vision board.
Treasure
Thank
board,
you.
yeah. everyone has
They
vision
do
board.
this vision board. And a vision board is a form of revision.
I see
That's
that.
what it is. But they don't tell you that. No.
Well, they don't have the word, yeah.
No. And the other thing is that what they don't tell you is that, Corky, just put it doesn't work, but we have to do it at least once a day.
Yeah.
And so these vision boards, people use them and they have amazing success. And the reason why they have amazing success is they are using that board to take them to the place they want to be.
A focus point.
When you look at that board, you're looking at the house you want. You're not looking at the one you live in.
Right.
You go and get a picture of the car you want, the clothes you want, the boat you want, the vacation whatever it is,
Right.
If you're working on body image, whatever you're doing, you
Exactly.
put it on the board. And that's what you look at. And that is what you think. That becomes your consciousness. That becomes your awareness. That's an amazing form of revision. Absolutely. And it does work.
It sure does, because then you, instead of going, look, and I wish I were different, but you keep seeing yourself the way you see yourself, unless you give yourself a new picture, a revision.
Get a revision. And so what is revision then? It's changing the past. It's healing the past so you can change your future. That's what it is. Whatever you've got going on in your past, you can get rid of it. But you do it through rewriting it, rethinking it, consciously with feelings. This is not something you do like, yeah. Well, don't do it. Just don't do the yeah thing. Because you're going to get more the yeah. But you do it with a feeling. You feel it. You feel it like you would a beautiful day. You feel it like when you lay there at the beach. For those of you who do the beach, I don't need the tan thing, so we won't go into that. We won't get into that part of my life. But guess what?
That you're stepping on.
But I actually do like to sit in the sun, so let me tell the truth. So when I sit there and I go, oh my word, this is, oh wow. I give myself 20 minutes, a day. And I think, wow, this is wonderful. I just feel absolutely blissful. That is how you do revision. You do it with the feeling, with the bliss, with the joy. It's like, when those of you drink coffee and you have your first sip of coffee in the morning, what does that feel like? Oh yes, thank you very much. Because I have to fantasize about that one now.
Well, you want me to call you every morning? And go.
Thank you. Leave me a message. I would appreciate that. I'm telling you the truth now. See, you're just sipping and drinking. Oh, just love it. That is how you do it. You see, it's not about, you're not going to get a shot or something.
Shot of
People
what?
do things with their faces also. What?
A shot of what?
Whiskey.
A shot.
How is
Yeah.
it? What are we talking about?
What shot of whiskey?
I don't know. Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah. No, this is not about going to get that shot that you don't want to get. That one.
That way.
But you know that you think you might need it. Yes.
I have a question. What if you don't want to feel it?
Then don't do it. No, I'm serious. Don't do that. Do something else that you want to feel it about. If you're not ready to change something, don't mess with it. Just go and do something that you are ready to change. That's the best way to look at that. Otherwise, you don't want to do it. You just add to what you already have. Because your thoughts inside are not progressive.
You feel guilty about it.
They are debilitating. And you are feeling still not okay. Maybe anger, maybe I just don't like something. For some people, they got anger, hate, disappointments, all kinds of stuff going on, and we carry it around. So if you're not wanting to feel it, part of change is that we feel it. Some of the greatest moments I've ever had with success around something, I felt it. I knew that was happening. When I walked in the door and they said, "It's your job," I said, "Yes." And they said, "Yes, too." We were all jumping around in there having a great time because I had got that job and there were a lot more qualified people than me that applied for it. And I went in there knowing it was my job.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I didn't go in there like I'm thinking. I said, no. I was 28, all of that stuff. And I was ready for something. And that's what, I've started doing all of this way back. And I've been doing this for the last 40 years and didn't know I didn't have that name for it. But I know that whenever I've been working on difficult things, I have been able to transform them through how I see the outcome. How I don't leave it what somebody tells me. I change that to something that I want. And that's what revision is. It's not about somebody saying this is what it is and you can't have any better. You say, I don't think so. I don't think so. That's not me talking. It's that thing. They used to tell students, oh, well, look to the left, look to the right. Of the three of you, two are going to fail. Teachers used to do that.
Yeah.
And you would see people cave in.
Still do.
They still do it?
Yep.
Get out.
Not in my program, but I've heard people my age talk about teachers doing that to them when they enter grad programs and
Really?
PhD programs. Oh yeah.
But is that just ridiculous? Because I saw students caving in. Here they were, prime, 28, 29, 30, going out into teaching, science, wanting to get into medical school, and having the teacher tell them they weren't going to succeed at what they wanted.
It was supposed
And
to
they
toughen them up or
caved in.
something, wasn't it? Was that what that, you're supposed to toughen them up, like, don't be disappointed if you don't make it, because two of you aren't going to make it.
Or it's don't be one of the two that don't make it.
Yeah.
Well, how are you not going to be one of the two that don't make it?
By wanting it.
By wanting it. But yet they didn't teach you that.
You take out the other two.
They told you. Take out the other two.
So you're Italian mafia, is that it?
Revise.
I surely didn't get that far in my life.
That's a great line. You are getting revised.
And the new name's taking a hit. All I know
Reincarnation
is I went out and got a job when they told me there were no jobs. I said, what? Doesn't mean you have no jobs. Like I had rent coming, right?
This kid
And,
needs a job.
And all of that, right?
Right.
So I went and got the job.
Exactly.
I revised because, like I said, I'm in a classroom. I've taken GEDs. I've done all this stuff and all of these things. And to have somebody tell me that I am going to fail, but yet he's the professor standing up there telling this to students who have spent the last 4, 5, 6, 7 years studying hard to go out to do something. This is not my idea of education or being an educator. So, this is still going on, not only in schools, but also friends will do that to friends. Oh, well, you'll never get that job.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do that for no.
Friends.
Yes. That's what they call
Amazingly
themselves.
enough, yes.
Yes.
Enemies enemies with friends
See?
like that.
I'm
Yeah,
saying,
really.
this is real stuff.
It is real.
This is real stuff. And so what do you do with that? Or when someone says to you,
Kick them to the curb. Revise them.
well, you revise them.
Revision time.
But that's it though. You do revise them. Instead of hearing that person tell you that, you revise that story, that experience, to where you're hearing that person tell you you're going to be great, you're going to be successful, you're going to go out and get the job, you're going to be whatever it is. And they smile at you and you smile at them, they hug you, you hug them. You have changed the past to something that you want to the future. It's not about what they want. Who knows why you're friends? I I had some friends say to me once, so okay, so you're in college, big deal.
What? It is
So-
a big deal.
But then that friendship went, you know, it went.
South.
But that's good, South is good. But I'm looking at them and I'm thinking, and then my thoughts were not very nice. Okay?
You've
My
done so much.
thoughts,
You've
they were
improved
not very
yourself.
nice. I have improved.
You've
a
made
lot.
yourself. You have done a wonderful job.
Well, thank you. See, revision. Thank you, Portia.
Yeah. But you know,
Because-
how do you get that? You know, I hear all these people who can't find jobs and couldn't find jobs and haven't had a job and all that. I have not been without a job for 75 years.
Right.
Why'd you wait so long? No.
I know, you know. And I mean, it's like,
Just stop, Courtney.
you know, I never applied for a job I didn't get. And
That's right.
Yeah. And I said, well, why? How did that happen? I said, because I knew I was going to get it. Exactly what you said.
Right.
But where do you get that attitude from?
Well, let's see what Dean has to say. Then we'll,
Yeah.
What you put?
Well, I was gonna say, I think knowing what you're good at and knowing what you're not good at really helps with that.
Yeah.
I think you know that you're good at certain things, so you know you're going to get a certain job.
Right.
And then a lot of people who are like, oh my god, I can't find a job, they're either going for things that they want to be good at and they're not good at, or they go for things that just like, I don't know, something stupid like it says, requirements, master's degree in blah blah blah. And they're like, well, I have a bachelor's, but I'll apply anyway. Oh, I didn't get it. It's like, well, that's because they're looking for a certain kind of person.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's, and I hear about, you know, now people trying to find jobs with, and they're like, oh, I'm sending out like 30 applications a day, sending out like 100 a day, or 100 a week or whatever, and they're going, and part of me is just like, well, that sucks, but also part of me is like, well, if you're sending out that many, then are you really hand-picking the ones that you know you're going to maybe get an interview for?
Yeah. Yeah.
no, they're not.
Quality, not quantity.
Because they're desperate. So you have something to say, Gloria? Should I just go ahead?
I got a little point on that
Okay.
because I grew up in a family where we had our own family business, okay? And as a young child, I was kind of taught that if you didn't find a job, you'd go make one.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's always work to be done.
Mm-hmm.
You just get somebody that's willing to pay you for it.
There's that too. And
That's a
then
self-starter for sure.
Then there is that side where people are sabotaging themselves,
Oh,
Yes, you planted.
and they have
You planted a seed.
Yes.
You've got to uproot it.
and how they're thinking.
Yeah.
They're thinking lack. They're thinking the lack mentality. There are no jobs. There are no jobs. And people will say, oh, if we post a job tomorrow, we'll have 300 applications. Okay. And
What's the job? And I'll look at it today.
thank you.
Yeah.
So what are you posting?
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna have 200 applications. And I have gone for jobs where they had lots of applications, and I have gotten every job I've ever wanted.
Me too.
And you know, the thing about it was I had this attitude
Right.
that I could do that job. I was qualified, I was educated, I thought I had some intelligence running around in there someplace. I felt I could learn it, and I have applied for these jobs and I got them. The jobs you want, when you feel it. This is back to you here. When you feel it. See, this is not about, I gotta get a job, I got school loans. No. Okay, fine. Well, I think I'll go get some pizza. All right, you're not interested in working. You really aren't. You're interested in something.
Complaining about it.
Thank you.
Or the
And you're interested in having something come your way without having to put effort into it. But I knew I was going to be out there looking for a job in a market where they were telling me there was no jobs. I didn't believe it because I had a greater purpose to stay in my apartment, pay my bills, live comfortably, thank you very much, and I wasn't going to do that, and I wasn't going to go ask my family, could I come live with somebody while I figure out what I was going to do, okay? And there were these other jobs that I knew I could get that I didn't want. I wanted that one. I wanted to teach in an open school. I wanted that job. I wanted to work with children, and I wanted that job, and I could taste it, and the job came to me. I saw it in my visions. It came to me. All I had to do was say yes to it and believe in it, and I did, and I walked in, and they say, it's your job.
Yay!
That has happened with all of them. So I'm not saying this like this is a fantasy. This is real stuff.
No.
You gotta send it out. You can pretend 100 a week. Whoa. Well, this is what do we got going on today? A lot of tech, a lot of jobs, all the stuff that I don't know anything about. So back in the day when I'm looking for work, I knew something about it. Now, this is not an area for me. This is an area for the younger generations, or those who are, maybe the younger generation's parents are out there competing in the tech. They're fine. And they're having to figure out how to do this without wondering if somebody coming along their son's age is going to get their job.
Yep.
These are the stories. We hear this stuff all the time. But for you to make the decision how you're going to write your script, this is really serious stuff. But you write it with an incredible good feeling about it. This is not about, I'm too old, there's not enough money, I'm too this, I'm too that, I'm not educated enough. That don't work. What that does is it stops it, because that's what you believe and that is what you get. Instead of having somebody look at you and say, well, yeah, actually, you could fit in here. Let me, oh, well, we like this. They're looking at your resume, or whatever you call it these days, right?
Still a resume.
Still a resume?
Yeah,
Thank
they have
goodness,
that.
something hasn't changed yet?
Well, if it's the one with all your academic stuff, it's a CV. But
Really?
yeah, if it's
Ooh.
jobs, it's a resume.
Okay, good enough. Thank you. So the resume may have something on there that company likes.
But you also have to have a feeling of what that company likes when you make the resume.
You got to research your company.
I mean, there are so many ways you can slant a resume
Yes.
for the job. Not just say, this is me, aren't I beautiful? This is me, and this is why you need me, because you need this type of person in your company.
And it's something they can check on and see that you did it.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, you still have to approach it from the place of it is mine. I love it.
Right.
I've got it. It is happening. It is waiting for me. When I walk in that door, I am not walking in there like, please, please, please hire me. I am walking in there like I walked in the door when I was out there in my younger days doing this thing. I walked in and I would say, good morning. And I would say, how are you? And they'd look at me. And they say, I'm fine. I said, great. I'm happy to hear that. It's a lovely day outside. Have you been out to enjoy it any today? And they look at me, they said, no, I haven't. I said, oh. I said, it's just absolutely wonderful. And they said, have a seat. We'd sit out and they would talk to me about the job. And they said, well, we see here that you have a master's in blah, 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 and a degree in blah, blah, blah. And I said, yes, I do. And they said, oh, you're a bit overeducated. I said, but I have a lot of skills with working with children and other young adults. And they said, yes, you do. And they said, and that's where my job, that is where it became my job. Not because I had all the degrees, but because I had experience with working with children and young adults.
And an interest.
And a very keen interest. And so that was what worked for me, and I felt it. I walked in like it was mine. I didn't walk in like it's not mine and I'm praying they're going to give it to me. So what I was thinking on, seeing on, feeling on, I walked in and I demonstrated it. I presented myself as someone who was competent, confident, just a tad bit on the being arrogant about it, but I walked in knowing that I could do the job. It wasn't I could do the job. And I was familiar with educational systems. Graduated from UC Santa Barbara was not a small feat for an African American person back in the 70s. It was hard enough to get in, least of all to graduate. So it all worked for me, but I had all the ingredients. But today, anyone who has all the ingredients and work them, you can get things that you desire in life. This is not about somebody is going to block you. That's not, you block you. If you are not feeling that you are worthy. I had somebody put it to me, a good friend. She says, you have to feel that you deserve what you want.
I wanted to mention something.
That's what everyone.
I was talking to somebody about something I was going to be doing, and they said, "You really think you're something, don't you?" And I looked at it and I said, "Honey, I am something."
I'm not thinking I know it.
Yeah, and they just got, it's like when people want to put you down,
Yes.
they can't if you're not going to let them. And that ability to just stand and look at somebody and say, "No, you're full of it. I am something," And
Yes.
I'm going back to that question I asked earlier. Is where do you get that attitude? Because I see so many people these days that don't have that attitude. It's like life has whipped them. And
They're believing the stuff that's all around them. They're not believing in them. They're believing in media. They're believing in journals they're reading. They're believing in the newspaper. They're believing in all of this stuff that is not about them. That you don't spend 8 to 10 years, give or take, going to get a degree and then decide that you're not worthy. But if you're listening to all the news propaganda, I call it, or all the propaganda in this magazine you're taking because you went to this school and they're telling you that their graduates are not getting employed, all of this stuff that people are looking at, but they're not looking at what drove them to this in the first place. Are you trying to tell me you went out there to study physics and architecture and all that stuff and environmental something because, well, you just wanted to do that? There had to be something there.
Right.
So where's that passion? What happened to it? What did you start to believe as you got closer and closer to your graduation? What did you start to believe as you got closer and closer to getting into the job market? Who are you listening to? Because you're not listening to you as that positive you that started this. You're listening to the other side of the coin. You're listening to people going, well, I hope you find a job. And people say this thinking that they're motivating you, but it usually does the opposite. You're looking at your friends, they got a job. Well, I should have went into computers. Well, no, you'd be jumping out of a window if you went into computers. So not everybody can do computers. But you went into environment, you went into science of some kind. That's where you went. Now, what's done happened to it? People lose their motivation. They lose the feeling for it. And then they go into that depressed state. The stress and the anxiety. What am I going to do? How am I going to make ends meet? How am I going to take care of myself? Here I am, 32 years old, got to go home, live with my parents. All of this kinds of stuff, or 35, whatever age it is that we go back home and live with our parents. That the thing is, there is a feeling that's missing. And being able to see from where they are to where they want to go. This really is a progressive action or a progression from where you are to where you want to see yourself. It is the other phrase for that has been called living in the end. You don't just say, well, I want this job. You see yourself having the job, enjoying the job, loving the job, and having it give you everything you need.
It's visualization.
Yes.
Obviously.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it does work, and it works very well.
Mhm.
But a lot depends on the people that we listen to and what we listen to. And so anyway, there are some, there's a simple, what time is it?
2:20.
Okay,
20.
I want to, Dean, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah.
You had your hand up there.
Yeah. So I'm hearing a lot about us like kind of rewriting the present or like rewriting the recent-ish past. Could you give us an example of maybe how someone would rewrite a traumatic event or traumatic few years that happened to them that's really weighing them down now?
Okay. So just remember that everything that happened to you. So first of all, you don't ever deny that it did. Because that's a very important truth. So when you're looking at something that's traumatic, painful, all those kinds of words, it says not okay. You know what it is and you felt it. You experienced it and you knew it. See, nobody has to try to explain this to you. You know what it is, okay? That's the past. But it's also the present because it's with us still. So we're going to start right here. And what we do is we change us in the rewrite. You change how you see you. You do not see you as someone who is still carrying the burden of something that you could not stop, prevent, or keep from happening. You start here, and you see you becoming this new person. You see you changing. That's how you do it. You rewrite you changing. You see you as feeling better about who you are. And you can do this in steps. It doesn't have to be all at once. But if you can do a picture that flows, that's fine. But if it's a piece, that's good. Then you add to the piece. You take that piece and you extend it. And you take that piece and you extend it. And that's one of the ways that you would do it. Because one of the things that I can do it best with myself, because I went through some stuff that wasn't my idea. So how did I see myself? It's not always easy being told that you are a nigger and you'll never be anything but a nigger. It's very difficult to deal with that. And that not only are you a nigger, but you're a nigger bitch. It's really difficult to deal with this. Okay? And that no matter how much education you get, you will always be a nigger. I grew up with this.
It's awful.
Okay? So this is the yes?
Not to mention the attitude and the force and the energy that was put behind those statements and the environment that you were growing up in that supported it.
Yes. Everything was conducive to those words being real, no matter the source. Okay? Regardless of the source or whomever was saying it. Okay? So what did I do with that? Because that was a biggie. And I've been hearing that. It's an interesting thing. And I was hearing that outside of my family. My family didn't say that. Nobody in my family ever said that. But the people outside the family said it. Some were black, some were white. And other cultures as well. Okay? So what did I do with that? Because that's a big thing. Here I am, now living in Santa Barbara, California. And I have a lot of every ism coming at me from a lot of different places. And not only that, the family is being very mobile, getting the good jobs. We bought a home, moved into an area where we weren't supposed to live, and all that kind of stuff. And I got all this stuff coming at me. So what did I do? I first had to accept the source of where it was coming from and realize that that wasn't how I saw myself, and it wasn't how I was going to see myself, and I saw myself as achieving the one thing I wanted to achieve ever since I was about 12. I wanted to teach school, and I wanted to be a school teacher. Okay? And so what did I do? I saw me going to school. I saw me doing well. I got blocked by teachers, you name it, professors. It was an amazing journey. I saw me going to school. I saw me doing well. I saw me meeting everything on my list. I saw me doing it. I got beyond all the other stuff that came at me. I saw me graduating. I saw me teaching school, and I did all of those things. Every last one. And I faced a lot of stuff. I was blacklisted by the Blacks Department. I was blacklisted by the dean of my division. It is amazing. I was denied financial support. I was told I was uppity. I was treated inferior because my skin was darker than some other blacks. It was an amazing stuff. And all of this was at UC Santa Barbara. This was not Clarksdale, Mississippi. Okay?
Wow.
So, what did I do? I saw me doing the things that Joyce Brown wanted to do more than anything. I wanted to teach. And I have done that. That's what I did with it. I changed it from what someone was calling me to who I am, to how I see me. That's what I did. I changed it. I rewrote it. I saw me teaching. I saw me graduating. I saw me doing everything. And it unfolded for me. And I stayed with it through some very difficult times. A lot of stuff happened. Deaths, you name it. It was an amazing thing that was ongoing all the time. You know, cleaning houses to make a living. Okay? Whatever I needed to do to make the money, to pay for my tuition, to buy my books, to go to school, I did it. But I never once lost my story. Everything else just fit into me doing the story to get to the end. That's how I know how to handle that. And so that's a good way for you to do it. Take that story, that trauma. If you got a trauma, take it and look at it and say, yeah, okay, I couldn't do something about that. But I can rewrite how I am experiencing it now. I can rewrite how I am,
Reacting.
Thank you. How I am reacting to it now, responding to it now. I can change all of that through how I am consciously doing it.
You have to learn to change your beliefs.
You have to change your beliefs.
May I give an
Yeah.
example? I have an older brother. We're only 14 months apart. Very jealous of me as a child. He hated me. I mean, all the way up until our mid-40s. And one day he called me and he said, you know, I'm going to counseling just to figure out why I hate you so much. And at this point in my life, I mean, all I wanted was to be loved. I mean, that's still all I want. I just want to be loved and I want to be loving. And he said to me, I had to go to counseling to try to figure out why I hate you so much. And my heart was broken, thinking, what is so hateful about me? Why am I, all that questioning, what a terrible person I must be, how da-da-da-da. And I said, so did you get an answer? And he said, yeah. My counselor said, you and I are a whole heck of a lot more alike than I've ever realized. And that's been coming out little by little by little in the last several years. He came to visit me here in San Jose. He lives in Texas. And he came out to visit, and we went shopping together. And we were looking for a gift for a friend of his. He said they love Paisley. We're walking around the store. We both picked up the same exact pattern, same exact everything, and said, here, look. And we went, oh, and we started laughing. And what I realized was, it's not me that was a horrible person. It was him not knowing who he was, and him not knowing this. So that same afternoon, he bought me the book that I brought to church last week, which is The Little Soul and God. And when he bought the book, it was something like 1735 or something. He goes, oh, 1735. I must have been killing witches back in those days.
Oh.
And I said, oh, and I was probably one of the witches you killed. And he said, and that speaks volumes about our life in the present day together. But what it did for me was it made me recognize, this isn't me, this was his beliefs, his thoughts, his perception, and it gave me something to work on with Ho'oponopono and forgiveness of what happened between us in a past life, and the knowledge that we really are a lot alike in this life, and that we can be together and friends. And now we easily say, I love you, and mean it, and I wouldn't say we're best of friends, but our communication is so much different than it used to be. And he doesn't tell me he hates things just because I like them anymore, and which he did all the way till our mid-40s, you know. And now we're in our early 60s, and you know, it's a whole different energy between us. But it had to come from me recognizing that his vision of me was through his own perception of himself, and it was not truly who I was.
Good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And sometimes perceptions come out of fear of someone also. And yes.
So I have two questions. At what point, say you've had this pattern of like not believing in yourself, and you're trying to make, you know, you're trying to revise that, like we're talking about, but because it's still a process, there isn't that certainty that it sounds like, you know, you have. So it's mixed in, like it's mixed in with, still with like this new story that you're trying to create is mixed in with like all this other like habits that are still like not believing in yourself, and you know, so how does it, so my question is like, there's like, is there like a momentum, you know, at what point does that shift?
Okay, well, so Gloria is having a moment back here, so she's got something she wants to say.
I get a chance to work with people, mostly young women who are at that kind of a crossroad in their life many times. And so in sharing practical applications for us to recreate ourselves, because we go through these wonderful stages where we're this little girl, and then we get to be this beautiful woman, and then we fall in love, and then we start coming through traumas, and things aren't where they're supposed to be. And then we go through maybe even marriage, and maybe even motherhood, and then find ourselves in these other places where, oh, the kids are calling us, and who am I now? You know, because we do. And I want to say that maybe as females, we have to recreate ourselves many times and address many roles. And so when we find ourselves at a position where maybe we're beat down or trodden down or lost focus of who we really are because we're so busy being the wife and the mother and the teacher and the nurse and the one that gives and the caregiver and the doer of this and the good daughter and all these other things, we don't know who we are, okay? And so in my work, I give practical applications, and a lot of times I take a piece of paper and take a Sharpie and I write, I am worthy, and send them home with that. For this week, every morning, every night, you're brushing your teeth before bed and before morning, and you're saying, I am worthy. I am worthy of what? Start putting something behind that. I am worthy of happiness. I am worthy of my dreams will pop up one day, and then you'll say, oh, what is my dream now? Okay? And so you start with a practical application, and I like to advise self-affirmations, affirmations. You are affirming who you are. Who do you want to be? Okay? And then you'll gain the momentum. Okay?
And not only do you gain, but what it happens is it's progressive. And that's a key word. Is that once you begin the process of making change, the change doesn't just stop. So when you begin to come into this new you're adding on to her all the time, every day. And one of the things that's really important about making the changes, coming into who you are right now as this person, is that not only are you accepting that person, you're seeing her as how you want her to become. You see, what's important is not to get into this place and get here. And wherever here is, it's like, this is it. You know, it's kind of like this. Look at it in a very practical kind of way. Let's just say that you get the job you want. You want the job. And you got the job and you're working the job. And everything that you did to get you the job worked. But you don't do anything else. Then you get into the job and you're going, oh my God, this job is a dead end. Oh, what am I going to, no matter what I do, it's a dead end. Well, you stopped. You stopped. You got the job. Where else will the job take you? It'll take you one more step up, 2 more steps up, start your own company, go to another company who's offering you, 50K more. What are you talking? What are you looking at? Are you staying abreast on what's out there? And you've got the job, you're good, you're enjoying it, the job is training you, the company is paying for you to take classes. All of this stuff happens, right? But yet now you're unhappy and you're not, I don't like the job anymore. Why? It's not stimulating, it's not interesting anymore. The job is fine, you're the one that's the problem. It's not the job. The job is giving you what the job has to give you. The question is, what more do you want the job to do for you? So you expand it. This is when you take a positive and expand it more into its positive, so that you see yourself going up one more step. And all those classes you're taking, everything you're learning, everything you're getting, you're moving up. Who's going to notice you? The person up here who can bring you to there. They're going to notice you. And you keep going, and you keep going, and you keep going until you don't want to do this anymore, and then, then you retire and move to Maui, stuff like that.
Yay.
I'm going to mention something. I had a job working at that very metaphysical place called Lockheed Space University. And it was winter.
She said very metaphysical.
Place called Lucky.
Yeah.
Lockheed
Lucky.
Lockheed Missiles
That's what
in
I thought
Space.
you said.
And so I'm working there, and it got to be really cold, and people like to go outside and walk around, but it was so cold we couldn't do that. Someone says, well, we need to do exercise. And we had 22 women working in this group. And I said, So I came up with an idea, and I went into those huge industrial bathrooms they have in those big companies, and I drew a hopscotch. That went like crazy. All these women, I mean, from 70-year-old all the way down to 22-year-old girls, we started playing hopscotch. And I came out one day because we played hopscotch during noon, the break. And so I came out, and there were 5 guys standing there saying, "What are you women doing in there?" "We're playing hopscotch." They said, "Well, can we play?" And I said, "Well, if we do, we have to bring it out into the corridor, And he said, "Well, that would be fun." So pretty soon we were having hopscotch all over the place. And the manager came and said, "Who came up with that idea?" I said, "I did. We needed some exercise." And he said, "Yeah. Would you like to be a union steward?"
Yes.
And I said, "What does a union steward do?" And he said, "Well, number one, you can't get fired." I said, and I said, "Okay, get me the paperwork."
Right away.
He got me the paperwork, and I signed up, and it came bouncing back. You can't be a union steward. You've only been here 80 days. You have to be here 90 days to become a union steward. I mean, in 90 days, everybody knew who I was, and it wasn't because I was doing anything bad. I just saw a need. We need to get some activity going on in this building when it's too cold to go outside.
Well, you filled the need,
Yeah.
and that need got you noticed. And so that could open up a space for you to move through. That is what we have to do when we're taking a look
Think
at
outside
doing
the box.
revision. It is way outside
Because
the box.
the next job I got there was I was in charge of the signing up people who were black, Asian, Mexican, whatever, that they could be put on the vendor list, because those people weren't being put on the vendor list for Lockheed for them to go or be able to bid on a thing. And I had more, within the time I had that vendor list, I had more women, more African American, and more Hispanic people than Lockheed had ever had. And just by letting them bid on it. Before they wouldn't. If your name was Mexican sounding, they did not let you bid on it. And they were, I did such a good job. They promoted me out of the job. They sent me up to out of hourly up to a salary job. But there again, that same niche. Everybody else had just handled the same vendors that they had. They never thought they could add all these new people. And I just put it known that Lockheed was going to get into more diversity. And that's what it was. And that's what when you're talking about your job, there's always other niches, no matter what your job.
You make
make
it interesting. You keep it interesting.
And there's so many different things that you can do. But you have to think outside of the box. You can't, I always see people that march around like little soldiers, not thinking anything else. I was there a week and I said, "Who writes these purchase orders?" And they said, "I don't know." "Where does when we get the product, where does it go?" I don't know. All I do is punch it in, into the computer. And you had no idea.
Yeah, it used to be called job security. You only did your job. You didn't look at anybody else's, because then that would make them nervous. But yet you would have 40 people doing the job that 2 could do or 3 could do, because it was job security. It was kind of an interesting thing.
But you didn't have to think about a thing. You just read these numbers.
That's
And
all you did.
that was just...
Yeah. Creativity and self-expression is very important. So revision is about seeing the end result you deserve. Thereby, you're changing old habits into new realities. That I wrote down last night as I was busily scanning the notes to see if they made any sense at all. And so, that is what you do. It's like saying it sounds really easy. Okay? Staying in old habits is really easy. Changing old habits is not. But it can be done. And just like we can create a new habit, we can also change an old one into something. If you want to call it a habit, you can. Change it into a new habit, one that you actually want to do.
Right.
let it be something you actually want to do. For example, yesterday, I was writing notes and trying not to go into some sort of, I don't know where I was going, but I went. And then I came out of it and I said to Patty, I finished it. She said, you have? I said, yes. And then I thought, what did I write? Because, you know, I go into this thing, you call it a flow or channeling, and you just write and pray that the computer knows that that word is supposed to be that and not that other word that you were writing. So here's the thing, that to know more about what it is that you are focused on, sit in a quiet room. I mean quiet room. You do not have your iPhone. Your computer is not on. You do not have music. And if it can be as quiet as it can, you know, this is when neighbor's dog or the baby or somebody decide to mow their lawn happens. This is an amazing thing, the way that works. But you want to be quiet, as quiet as you can be. You can do this in the early morning. You can do it late at night. Doesn't matter, as long as you do it. And while you're sitting in this quiet place, you just sit. You can close your eyes. Just sit and pay attention to what comes up. It's absolutely amazing. So let's just do it. We'll do it for about 2-3 minutes. Just close your eyes. Just let your breathing come naturally to you. Nothing special about this silence. And what you all are going to do is just sit silently and pay attention to what comes up for you. Ideas, names, events, anything at all. And in about 3 minutes, I'm going to talk to you again, beginning now. Okay. That was about 2 minutes and 25 seconds. So in 2 minutes and 25 seconds, something came up for you. One thing may have came up several times, or several things may have come up, but they did. And so for something to have come up for you. It may be something you would like to work on. It may be just something that is always there and you're not too sure if you want to work on it. Or something you may want to expand into something even greater. Or you may be something came up around healing. I mean physical healing, emotional healing, spiritual healing. All of these are part of revision. Revision doesn't exclude anything. See, you don't think in limits or what isn't included. What we send out and what we include in what we are doing will get a corresponding response. You can do it for you, you can do it for loved ones, you can do it for animals as your loved ones. It's just amazing. You know, your friends, everyone you know, you can do revision for them. You're not trying to control them, you're just seeing them happy. They're calling you up, oh, I'm so unhappy with my life. But as they're telling you this, how you're seeing them is you're just seeing, you say, wow, the way I'm seeing Joyce, she is so happy. She's coming through whatever this is. She's moving into a new direction. She's happy with her life. She's happy with her work. I see her feeling really good about who she is right now. And she's smiling and we're hugging each other and we're going out for coffee. That's revision. See, it doesn't have to be complicated. And you might be surprised that I call you on the phone and say, you know, I'm feeling pretty good today. You want to go out to coffee? And then I'll ask you if you're buying, of course. And you know,
Of course.
Yeah, yeah. And you'll say, well, yeah. So what came up? Can anybody share that you're okay with sharing about just one thing that came up for you in that 2 minutes and 25 seconds? Yes.
I felt fear.
You felt freer?
Fear.
Fear. Ah, the F word. Okay, you felt fear. Interesting. So, may I ask you a question?
Sure.
Okay. So, it's very personal. So, is there something that you are afraid of? That you're aware that you're afraid of it?
Well, earlier I had been thinking about my wife's health and was trying to envision a good outcome.
Okay. Earlier you were thinking about
My wife's health.
your wife's health and
I was trying to see it in a positive.
okay, well that's good. That's exactly what you want. The revision is that you know what you're revising. And so it is a matter then of seeing exactly like you said, you're seeing this individual as being in great health. They are fine, they are well, they're healthy, they're smiling, and then both of you are enjoying yourself. And you feel that from the depth of your heart, from your feelings, from the gut feeling of feeling good about it. And that's the way to do it. Yes. But there's this other side there that would be there also. That's a very natural thing to have. That is not a natural thing, to have a fear or a concern for someone. So you want to now do a revision on you. And see you as standing there talking with her, feeling good. That both of you are feeling good. That you have moved beyond your fear. You're in the love. You're in the love of healing. You're in the love of feeling great. You're in the love of being together. You want to heal you. And healing is a wonderful word. You know, you don't have to have gone to medical school or anything for that. It's a wonderful word. What it basically means is that for me, it means removing something that is harming you and replacing it with something that isn't. That's how I've come to see it. So, or putting something in that's beneficial. You know, constructive. All of those fancy words, wonderful words that means going to do something here that's a good thing, that I'm comfortable with doing and that I will feel comfortable with. And that is what you would do daily. You don't just do it once. You do it until it just becomes a part of how you think about her. You see, it's just how, when you think about her, it's like, yeah, this is great. You know, this is all about the love I feel, how I feel. Oh my gosh, this is great. I'm gonna go get her some flowers. You know, I'm just in this. That is how you do it, and you do that every day. You can do that more than every day. You can do it several times a day, but it becomes the reality. So when you do the silence, it shows you what's in there. Silence brings up what we have inside of us, because the mind, which is a very powerful part of us, but the mind is not separate from the part of me that I call soul.